Welcome to the Potter Discussion.
Welcome back to the Potter Discussion. This is episode 114, and on today's episode we will be testing our knowledge on the magical creatures of Harry Potter. Let's do this. Hello. Welcome back to the Potter Discussion. Finally, with another Quizmaster episode. It has been too long since one of these have gone out, and I'm very excited today because we have a very fun quiz on the magical creatures of Harry Potter. One of my favorite topics, especially because there is so much to explore in this region, so many different creatures that there are, and so many different ways that they are used and seen in the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts movies and books. So I am very excited today. Before we get started, I will remind you that the two links in the show notes below are still available. The SpeakPipe page link and the Google form link for anything you want to hear or say on the show. Those two are still working. And if you don't want to use any of those two links, you can send me an email. My email is ThePotterDiscussion@gmail.com. That is ThePotterDiscussion@gmail.com. And you can also go check this page out on Instagram at ThePotterDiscussion DM. You can check out, there's daily memes, some very funny things that crack me up every time. I'm sure you'll love those. So at ThePotterDiscussion on Instagram, ThePotterDiscussion@gmail.com for the Gmail, and the two links in the show notes below, the SpeakPipe page link and the Google form link. Before we start, I also want to say thanks to Slovakia and Germany. I just got an email from Apple Podcasts saying I was number 11 in the rankings of kids and family in Slovakia and number 204 in Germany. So, I mean, if you're listening in Slovakia or Germany, hey, you're one of those people. So thank you for that. Keep on going. Maybe we can get up a few places. So that's random and pretty cool. Okay, I have done enough stalling. It is now time for the episode. Let's do this. Similar to our previous Quizmaster episode, we are going to be starting off with a power round. There is going to be 3 rapid-fire questions that I'm just gonna say. You're gonna try to answer in your head, and then at the end we will go over the questions. It's only gonna last like a couple seconds, but we will go over the answer at the end. So don't shout it out, just keep it in your brain and remember them, because they are gonna be coming fast and you should definitely be prepared. So I'm gonna say creature, and then you're gonna try to guess where those creatures live. Now, you don't have to say like, oh yeah, of course they live in Southeast Asia. No, you can just say like what kind of climate they enjoy, where they thrive, anything like that. But if you can be specific, you get bonus points for that. So we are starting off in the 3, 2, 1. Where do Thunderbirds live? Where do bowtruckles live? Where do redcaps live? Don't change your answers. Think in your brain, what did you think of? We are starting out with Thunderbirds. So, I started out with this one because I knew that some people would recognize the name Thunderbird and connect it to a creature we saw in the Fantastic Beasts movies. So, Thunderbirds like open plains where it's nice and hot, where the sun shines, and if you said Arizona, bonus points to you because Newt Scamander brought Frank the Thunderbird to America in hopes of bringing him to Arizona and letting him free. Even more bonus points if you know that Frank was in Egypt before Newt found him, and that's where he came from, but he enjoyed the hot desert plains type. So that is the Thunderbird. Now we have bowtruckles, and we did see this in the Fantastic Beasts movies, and we also saw this in the Harry Potter books. Bowtruckles enjoy trees, but not just any trees, wand wood quality trees. And I don't know why, maybe they're just extremely picky, but that is where bowtruckles live, in wand wood quality trees. And they will come out if they know someone who's approaching, like Newt. In that island in the lake, there was a tree that was apparently wandwood quality because bowtruckles were in it. Newt and Lita were going up to there, and Newt said, they recognize me and they know I'm coming, so they come out, they know I'm friendly. Of course, that's great, and that just proves the point that they know exactly what's going on, and they know that Newt is with them. So that is pretty cool, and that is Bowtruckles. But now we have Redcaps. The Redcaps, I think, are gonna be a little more challenging for a couple people, only because we only hear about them in The Prisoner of Azkaban, and they only appear, it's not like a big feature, they only appear a couple times. And Redcaps are often confused a lot of different things. But here is the answer for the Redcaps. Redcaps reside in places where blood has been shed. Anywhere where blood has been shed. That could be, dungeons of castles, battlefields. If you got a cut while you were taking a jog, I don't know. Redcaps are there. And I mean that's basically it. Of course, blood has been shed in a very lot of places, so they are everywhere. But that is it. There's no one specific place that they go. It's just where there has been bloodshed. I have said that way too much, but that is the power round. I hope you are nice and warmed up, because now we're getting to the serious questions. We're going to be spending a lot more time on these, and it is going to be very fun. So let's get into these big questions. Okay, so we're going to start off with a name that might sound a little familiar and might be a little difficult to place your finger on where you've heard this name from, but I think you will get it. Who is Frank? I know, it is really difficult, but I'm hoping you can get this one. Frank is the Thunderbird we were just talking about. Of course, that was the easiest one so far, but I put this question because Frank is awesome. Frank is so cool. He's great. He talks. He screeches. He flies. He has like 5 wings. So Frank is great, and I especially want to touch on the scene where he takes the swooping evil venom and puts it in the clouds that has strong obliviative properties. And that's how Newt saves the city. So I just want to talk about this scene because Frank was so good in that scene. Number one, Newt has a bottle that's like a vial. It's so delicate. He throws it in the air and Frank catches it and doesn't break. And in Frank's beak, no less. I mean, like, how? So Newt was intending to let Frank go in Arizona, as we were just talking about, but he said New York would do just fine. Of course, it does not, but Frank could just fly to Arizona or wherever he needs to. He could fly. I'm sure there's some great places in, I don't know, like Vermont or Massachusetts. I think those are right around New York, so he could just go there. But, I mean, Arizona's a bit of a flight, but if you could really use there, I'm sure he'd go there. I mean, the bottom line of this scene, I mean, Frank is awesome. Like, that's like, I mean, like, I would love to have a Frank carry my packages in his beak. That's like the ultimate version of an owl. I mean, sure, Hedwig's great, but like, Frank, come on, Frank is pretty cool. That is 100% why I put this question, just to talk about how awesome Frank is. Yeah, I mean, this Quizmaster episode is going very different in my head. Okay, I think it's time we get to the actual questions. Question number 1. In what book do Blast-ended scroots appear? What do you think? So, the Blast-ended scroots are those like crab slash shell slash creepy, slimy, creepy crawly thing that Hagrid gets for the class, for the Care of Magical Creatures class. And I mean, they are infamous. The entire class is dreading going to Care of Magical Creatures just because of the Blast-ended scroots. Of course, I think it is a little easier to guess why or whether when these creatures appear, only because there are only 3 books where there was Care of Magical Creatures. But still, I think it is difficult, especially because Hagrid always has a new crazy beast that he wants to present to the class, a new idea that he wants to say, a new whatever. And I think the Blast-ended scroots are just the latest edition of that. So, whatever you think, lock that in right now. The answer is the 5th book. The 5th book is where the Blast-ended scroots appear. The very, very last time the trio takes care of magical creatures. Coincidence? I think not at all. In fact, I'm reading Half-Blood Prince, if you didn't know that, from my saying it 14 bajillion times last episode. But in the very beginning, Ron was saying how he could not take another class because his mind just cannot handle it with another round of the Blast-ended scroots. So that's where that comes from. And also, of course, they don't take it in the 6th book, but I think a couple people do. And they are just like completely worse for it. But also Hagrid is really hurt. He thinks that the trio really like his class, but it's just they like him. I mean, it's heartbreaking for Hagrid, especially because he is like, it's his class, and it's his first class, and he can do what he loves. And then he finds out that no one likes it. Not even his best friends enjoy his own class. So I think that is definitely the biggest heart wrench for Hagrid, that the blast-ended scroots just didn't do it for some reason. The 6-foot-long stingers and the explosions and the burnt hands and the petrifying fear of walking towards Hagrid's hut, for some reason they just didn't want to do it again. I mean, those people, honestly, the nerve they have. I mean, if I had to do with the blast-ended scroots, I would not do another year. I would try to quit as soon as I could. I'm sure Care of Magical Creatures would be a fantastic class, but I mean, Hagrid, come on. He has to sometime realize that not everyone can handle the kinds of things that he can. He is definitely of a different caliber, of a different strength than, I mean, like 15-year-old kids. So I think it's definitely a different situation for Hagrid, and he has a whole different set of values in his head. So that is the first question. Question number 2. What are the abilities of the occamy? I'll give you a second to think about this one, because I think I know what you're gonna think, and I think you are gonna think what I think. Alright, if that made any sense, I think I know what the answer is gonna be for what you are gonna think. I confuse myself too much. Alright, I think I know what you are gonna say, and I think that you think what I'm gonna think and what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna stop there, and I'm just gonna talk while you think of the answer. So, the occamy. Now, of course, I'm not gonna tell you the abilities or even what it does, because that's the answer to the question. But I will say, I think it does sound like something that appears in a Harry Potter story. I mean, like occamy. It sounds like, I don't know, some kind of like moon or spell. Occamy. I could see that. Or like occlumency, or like something like that. It definitely sounds like a Harry Potter-y kind of like magical something. So it's definitely fitting for this Quizmaster episode. But it is a magical creature, if you cannot guess, as this is the magical creatures Quizmaster. But the occamy was one of my favorite parts of the movie it appeared in. Because it was just like it stayed the exact same. Hint, it physically did not stay the same, but I think it was the same kind of creature. So I think I have given you enough time to think. All right. I'm not gonna say the think analogy again. The occamy, the abilities of the occamy are to grow and shrink depending on the size of the space it is presented with. So if that didn't ring the bell, if you didn't get it, I will give some deeper explanations. So, in the Fantastic Beasts series, the occamy appears in the first Fantastic Beasts movie. So, the occamy is that like little purplish blue, like snake lizard type thing that bites Jacob when he tries to pet it. And then also goes into the huge Macy's department store in New York and expands in the storage area, and the demiguise goes up, the thing with all like the white hair who's invisible goes up, kind of babysit, and the occamy is gigantic. It fills up the entire department store storage area, which is gigantic. And then Newt, Queenie, Jacob, and Tina have to, they find a bug to give to the occamy. They throw it, and somehow the bug doesn't fly. So the bug just kind of like, boom, and just plops in the thing. I mean, like, plot convenience. And then the occamy kind of like goes up and swirls down and shrinks to go into the teapot with the bug. So that is where the occamy comes from, and that is the answer to question number 2. Personally, love the occamy. So cute, and especially when Newt gave the occamy eggs to Jacob, because those are like worth so much. They're solid silver. Anyway, let's move on. Question number 3. What creature does Dumbledore keep? Alright, this one will probably be easy for a lot of you listening, because it is something that is touched on a lot in the books and movies, and it is also a big point of the story. I don't think you need that long to talk, to think about it, but I chose this question similar to reasons for the Frank question, only because there is something that I want to talk about to do with phoenixes. There you go. I said it. Great. Phoenixes. That's the answer. I'm sure everyone got it. And now I want to talk about something that I think is so funny. So I'm sure you've heard it before if you've seen the reunion, but Richard Harris, the actor who played Dumbledore in the first and second movies, when he first saw Fawkes the Phoenix, he said, "Oh wow, they train animals marvelously these days." That is just Richard Harris. I mean, that is hilarious. They train these animals marvelous these days, and of course, the design team was working tirelessly on Fawkes, on the animatronic, and it had like cameras in its eyes, and they could like move, and it had like wings, it could flap, and like, I mean, it could have been a real bird. I think it will always be unknown whether Richard Harris was joking or not when he said, "Wow, they train these animals marvelously. They train them." Of course, phoenixes is this. Of course they do. Why would they not? Right? I don't know if he's joking or not. I really can't tell here. I mean, Richard Harris is always the jokester. In the reunion, they were saying that he was, like a 5-year-old stuck in the body of an old man, which I think is the exact opposite for Dan. But Richard Harris was really the life of the set from what we saw in the reunion. But that I just think is hilarious. That Richard Harris thought, or at least made a pretty good joke about how the Phoenix was real. Great. I mean, he is fantastic. He really did some great stuff. I am so sad that he passed, but I think his character, his personality will live on in Harry Potter 1 and 2, of course, because millions of people are seeing it every day. So that is lovely and, I mean, hilarious. Again, that is so funny. They train these animals marvelously days. And if that was a real phoenix, I would agree, because hours and hours and hours and hours of filming with Fawkes just sitting there. But also, I think then when you're moving up into the 5th movie, I'm thinking of that scene where Umbridge and the Minister and Percy and I cannot think of it. Kingsley. When those 4 people go to Dumbledore's office to try to arrest him, to take him to Azkaban, he's like, what's the phrase? I'm not going to, oh yes, come quietly. And then it's this whole thing where Fawkes flies down, Dumbledore claps his hands in the air, and Fawkes and Dumbledore disappear in a flash of fire. And then I always love the line where Kingsley goes, it was something like, "I think you would hate to admit it, Minister, but Dumbledore's got style." And that was so funny. And that was like, yeah, Kingsley's cool. So that was funny. And another scene where I would have been like, whoa, they do train those animals so marvelously these days. Of course, the 5th movie was made a while after the first and the second. But, I mean, a real phoenix it doesn't get better than that. And even if phoenixes exist, you'd probably have to pay millions of dollars just to get one to film. And even would you really want a bird on set? It would be so much more complicated. Just make an animatronic like they did. I think they definitely went the right route, but they train these animals marvelously these days. It will always be, whenever I watch the reunion, because of course I'm going to rewatch it 14,000 times, I am going to laugh my head off, as I did the first time, and I did the second, as I will the third, the fourth, the fifth, and sixth, up until 14,000. Of course, that's my limit, and I've well surpassed that for all the Harry Potter movies. But hey, what you gonna do? So yeah, that is. I had to put that in there because that is just hilarious. I loved that part of the reunion, especially all of the all the reactions of the crew, of Christopher Columbus, of Dan, of Emma, of Rupert, of everyone just laughing at Richard Harris and really remembering him. So really great line, a really great quote, really good joke, and yeah, let's move on to question numero 4. So these next couple questions are going to be pretty challenging. And these are the kinds, as holds true for all the Quizmasters, you're either going to get it in a second or you're never going to. So let's just get into this. Question number 4 What creature lives in a small green pouch and enjoys eating brains? Before you ask, no, it's not a zombie, but it is not really similar. I was gonna say it's similar, but it's not really at all. But I think this one is definitely going to be difficult to think about. I think it's going to be difficult to think, especially because it appears only a couple times. So I will give you a hint. It is in the Fantastic Beasts series, and if you really think, I think you can definitely get the first part, but not the second. The second one, I think, is going to be the hardest one because it was like the eating brains part, because it happened so fast. It was right in the middle of an action scene, and Newt says, "Leave his brain," and they go. So I think I've given you a sufficient amount of hints, and because you either got it or you didn't in a second or never, I think now is definitely a good time to reveal the answer. Well, the answer I actually already said in this episode. The answer is the Swooping Evil. The Swooping Evil is that creature that Newt got its venom from and had that strong obliviative properties. I always say it that way. I always say it's not like, I always say obliviative, because it's so fun to say obliviative. So the Swooping Evil's venom has the obliviative properties, and that's what Frank takes up to put in the rain clouds and obliviate all of the people in New York. Because of course the venom has obliviative properties. And in the action scene that I was talking about, where the brains, Newt and Tina were escaping from the Ministry, and they met Queenie and Jacob. So the Newt stunned and just kind of like fought and dueled the people in those white coats who were gonna kill Tina and Newt. And Tina was like in the middle of that like scary death Bernie pond. The scary death Bernie pond. And of course Tina was going to die if she stayed there, so Newt let his Swooping Evil go, and it flew like in between them. I don't know why it just stayed still, because of course we saw it stay still, but it just kept going. It was going around and around and around and around and around, and Tina jumped off of the chair out of the Bernie death pond, and the Swooping Evil went with them, and then it aided them in their chase. And Newt and Tina came across a lot of Ministry wizards, and they were going like boom, 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 boom. I was like, how do I explain spells? But there you go, spells. Like, boom, 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 boom. So there are spells going left and right. Toot and oh wow, I said Nina and Toot. No. Newt and Tina were, gonna get caught. So Newt let his Swooping Evil go again, and it was just flying back and forth. It was, getting Ministry wizards, and then when Newt and Tina were passing it, it was on top of a Ministry worker who was stunned, and Newt says, "Leave his brain, come on," and they keep going. So that is where that's the entire piece of the puzzle. That is everything put together as one. The answer is Swooping Evil. Congrats if you got it right. It was definitely in front of our faces. The name wasn't, and the scene wasn't, but I think if you got it right, you definitely pay close attention, and you were a true Harry Potter fan. Let's move on. And now we have another very challenging question, if I do say so. I worked pretty hard on this one. It is another get it or don't type of situations. So, this one you're going to have to pay pretty close attention to. Throat clear. What kind of creature pulled the prison transport in the beginning of the Crimes of Grindelwald? There's the question. Now you probably have the answer, or you don't. One or the other. Whatever it is, let's discuss. So, with this one, I think if you think back to the Harry Potter books, you're going to have a better chance of getting it, because there's a key part of this that I wrote the question as, but I decided not to say, because I think it definitely would have given it away if I changed it. If they changed the question and want to tell you the answer, I would definitely change the question and ask you it again, and you will definitely recognize how easy it would be to get if I asked it the way I had originally planned. But with this question, I think it's important that you don't think of how it was done, how the prison transport was done. It's important you think that you think of the scene. Just imagine the scene in your head, and I think that will give you a better chance, because the Grindelwald, of course, is in the prison transport, and he does interact with the creature, with the kind of creature that is pulling the prison transport. So, if you can think of the answer, I think good time as any to reveal the answer. And the answer is a thestral. If you didn't get it, it now seems as obvious as ever, but let me read you the question as I originally wrote it. Here it is. What creature pulls the carriage in the opening scene of the Crimes of Grindelwald? That's how I originally wrote that question, and you can immediately tell that I mean pulling the carriage is a Thestrals 101 in Harry Potter. So if I said it, what creature pulls the carriage, it would have been a no-brainer. Even if you heard the Crimes of Grindelwald, it would have been simple just to say, oh, Thestrals pull carriages in Harry Potter. They pull the characters in Crimes of Grindelwald. I mean, it's like adding 1 and 1 is 2. I mean, it's simple as that. And I think especially in this situation that this carriage is just another one of the examples, and it really fits in with the Harry Potter characters, because the Harry Potter characters are usually pretty dark, and they're getting there at night, so it's kind of dark, and maybe some a little drizzle, maybe the wheels splash in the water. But I think that's really why this the horseless carriages are so similar to the carriage that Grindelwald was pulled in. I called it the prison transport. I need to think of a different name, so that's the name I came up with. But that is what Grindelwald was pulled in, and that's what's pulled him. And I said that he did interact with the Thestrals, and he did when he he said, I don't know if he cast snakes at the driver or whatever, and shoved him off. He then took the reins of the Thestrals, and then he drove the carriage, and then he eventually got rid of the German prime minister, if that's what you call him, and the 2 guards that were in the carriage with, what's his name? The posh guy. Forgive me, that is just how I see it, especially because he joined Voldemort. Come on. So that is basically how that scene goes on. It's a pretty long-winded scene, and I think it really works. The first time I watched it, honestly, the first couple times I watched it, I was just like, what is happening? What is happening? Especially when the posh guy had the wand, and he was holding it, and then I was like, what the heck? Haha, what a funny joke. Isn't it so funny when you go back and you're editing and the audio file that was there actually isn't? So funny. Yeah, it's kind of what happened. So I've just finished. I was so close to finishing with the edit of this episode, and I get here and there's nothing. I was about to realize that the posh guy's name is actually Abernathy, and a whole situation, but there's nothing else to go here except for the challenge question that I kind of have to add because the audio file got deleted. So the challenge question is, what kind of creature did Queenie's grandfather breed? And as a bonus question, what kind of creature did Jacob's grandfather breed? Again, the challenge question is, what kind of creature did Queenie's grandfather breed? And I am sorry for the sudden cut. I blame my computer. Again, the audio file just decided to go on vacay, and it is not here anymore, so I am having to record this right straight into my computer microphone. But thank you if you stick around. I'll just do a quick outro here. Thanks for listening. ThePotterDiscussion@gmail.com, at ThePotterDiscussion. And remember, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, even when your audio file is deleted, if one only remembers to turn on the light. See you later.
This was the Potter Discussion.